Marathon is upon us, and here is everything that you need to know about it in under 5 minutes. Hello everyone, it's Aidan from Push Square, the channel where I talk all things PlayStation, and today we're talking about Marathon, the PvPvE extraction shooter from Bungie, the makers of Halo and Destiny. It's set to drop on PS5 and other platforms on March 5th with full crossplay and cross-progression support, but if you fancy trying out the game before then, there is a server slam running from February 26th to March 2nd, which will be free to those with PS Plus. The full release will be a paid experience coming in at £35 or $40. Now, Marathon was originally intended to release in September of 2025, but after a rough initial reception, the game was actually delayed, since Bungie has been working to fine-tune the visual experience, survival aspects, and it's implemented new features like prox chat. I have to say the visuals in particular have really had a turnaround for me. Now, you may recognise the name Marathon, and that's because it's actually an old franchise of Bungie's. It was a trilogy of FPS games that were released across the 90s. Now, this new Marathon, 30 years later, isn't a direct continuation, but it is set in the same universe as the OG trilogy, a century later in the timeline. The titular Marathon itself is actually a colony ship headed for the Tau Ceti 4 system. Significant investment went into this interstellar expedition, but something happened to it, with our solar system losing contact. Now that's where the premise of this game comes in. You play as a runner, a consciousness uploaded to a synthetic shell, since the trip to Tau Ceti is quite long for humans. So you are then basically trying to retrieve goods for the mega corporations that invested in the Marathon, while trying to figure out what happened to it and the colonies established on Tau Ceti. But of course, it's not a single player game, it is a multiplayer experience. However, like with Destiny, narrative elements will be worked into the world. Basically, lore hunters are going to have a field day with this one. So this is a 3-player multiplayer game where you can jump into matches with your friends, a squad of randoms via matchmaking, or dive into it in solo. There will be 3 maps on launch, each with a different level of risk and reward. Perimeter, Dire Marsh, and Outposts are their names, and their danger levels increase in that order. In these, you will gear up, explore, and collect loot while facing off against enemy AI known as the UESC and other real-life players. Each map will vary in the amount of players, ranging from around 12 to 18 based off of what we know from previous alphas. Prox chat, as mentioned, will be included at launch, allowing you to interact and potentially team up with other players. But of course, as an extraction shooter, if you die or fail to extract, you will lose all of your loot. There is a store called the Black Market where you can buy weapons before a run, but if you're low on funds, you can go in with a sponsored kit, which is this game's version of a freebie loadout. There are over 400 weapon mods allowing you to eventually tailor weapons to your style as you loot up. Obviously, your main gameplay loop is to successfully extract and acquire better gear, but in addition, you will be running quests and challenges for the varying factions within the game. These are the mega corporations that have sent you there, all of which come with their own perks and upgrade treats. These include things like bigger stash space, access to higher tier loot in the black market, or even increased looting speed. Post-launch, a 4th map named Cryo Archive will be added, and this is actually set on the Marathon ship. This is being described as an endgame activity with severe AI security to fight through, requiring your best gear and exact team coordination. AI enemies are a much bigger threat in this game than they are in something like Arc Raiders, so you really need to keep an eye out for them, and sometimes it may even be in your interest to work with other teams to take them down. It's these enemies that will typically be guarding the best loot. Now, what you loot will of course have a big part in how you play, but so too will the runner that you choose. There will be 7 runner classes to choose from at launch, 6 available in the server slam. Now, 6 of these will include 2 passive traits, a tactical skill, and a prime skill. So for example, the Triage runner has a med drone tactical that restores health and shields to your allies, and a prime skill that allows you to revive teammates from a distance. The classes of Assassin, Destroyer, Thief, Vandal, Recon, and Triage can act as a foundation for certain playstyles, whether those be stealth, support, or offensive focused. There will also be a Rook class which lacks the tactical and prime abilities and is locked to solo runs, but it does allow players to camouflage themselves from enemy NPCs, making this the perfect pick for scavenging runs. So anyway, that's everything you need to know about Marathon in under 5 minutes. Let me know if you'll be checking out the game when it drops on March 5th, but until then, I'll see you in the next one.